Let's now tell you that the Executive Director and Chief Executive Officer of the National Primary Healthcare Agency in Nigeria, Dr. Faisal Shoaib, says 19 states and the Federal Capital Territory have recorded over 14,000 suspected cases of diphtheria so far. Shoaib, however, disclosed that over 10,000 of the cases occurred in Kano State, which is the epicenter of the outbreak. He noted that 95% of the cases were recorded in Kano, Yobe, Katsina, Borno, Kaduna and Bauchi states, with over 600 deaths. The NPHCDA boss disclosed this at the quarterly review meeting of the Northern Traditional Leaders Committee in Abuja. According to him, 73% of the reported diphtheria cases occur in children aged 1 to 14 years, while 80% of those affected have not received any vaccination. He cautioned that those living at the local government areas where the cases are rising should use face masks since it is an airborne disease. People with disabilities in Nigeria have called for inclusion in the federal government's recently launched program titled Investment in the Digital and Creative Enterprise. This was during a capacity training to help improve market access for artists with disabilities in Nigeria, as they expressed worry in the government's intervention programs despite provisions in the nation's Disability Act. Idong Joseph compiled this report.
The creative industry space in Nigeria is the third largest in the world. It is also the second highest employer of labor and a contributor to the nation's gross domestic product. A recent report by Statista reveals that in 2023 alone, the movie and music recording subsector accounted for about 554 billion naira, while income from the telecommunications and information service subsector stood at about 2.84 trillion naira, making the creative subsector the most valuable within the information and communication sector. To leverage the vast opportunities available through the digital and creative sector, Nigeria's federal government recently announced a $617.7 million investment expected to create over 1.2 million new jobs and help reduce the nation's unemployment burden. However, persons with disabilities in the country say they have not been factored by the government to benefit from this initiative.
This is not the first time a grant or loan is being released for job in this country. Some 3 years ago, some funds were released to give MSME and persons with disabilities. MSME had 4-point-something billion. Persons with disabilities had 2.5 billion. But we couldn't get that money.
With the IDICE program, according to Nigeria's Vice President, set to commence in November this year, persons with disabilities say they want inclusion.
I want to use this medium to call on government to ensure that persons with disabilities are actively included in the IDICE project. This will create over 120,000 jobs for persons with disabilities in the art and the creative industries.
This time around, African Development Bank has released this lump sum. And persons with disabilities, what we are crying, it should not go the way the other one went.
The past government created opportunities and positions for the people with disability in the government. And more so, this is also an opportunity for the government, the present government, to ensure that the people with disability are carried along in the IDICE project.
While Nigeria's Disability Act reserves 5% of jobs and other opportunities for persons with disabilities, those with disabilities say they are hopeful government will commence full implementation of this act to enable them benefit from intervention programs.